In West Philadelphia, born and raised on the playground, I spent most of my days chilling out, max, relaxing on cool, and shooting some b-ball outside the school. When a couple of guys, they were up to no good, started making trouble in my neighborhood. One little fight, my mom got scared. She said she moved auntie and uncle in Bel Air. I begged and pleaded with her day after day, and she packed my suitcase and sent me on my way. She gave me a kiss and she gave me a ticket, up with my Walkman on and said, might as well kick it. Put on a Walkman. She gave me a kiss and she gave me my ticket, up with my Walkman on and said, might as well kick it. First class, yo, this is bad. Drinking orange juice out of a champagne glass. This is what people in Bel Air live like. This might be alright. I whistled for a cab, and when it came near, the license plate that freshened the dice in the mirror. Meantime, this cab is rare, but forget it. Yo, home's the Bel Air. I pulled up to the house around 7 or 8, and I yelled to the cab, yo, home, tell you later. Looked at my kingdom and my family there, sitting on my throne at the Prince of Bel Air. Do. Hey guys, movies and TVs on the ball here. Steveo coming at you just to ask you guys, or was wondering, with the Fresh Prince of Bel Air coming out back in 1990 and ending in 1996, I was going to talk about the show, and of course, Will Smith, him coming out with Bad Boys 4 Life, or Bad Boys 4, and the whole Oscar slap. I was a little bit concerned about it, but I was wondering, instead of giving you guys a review of like the first episode of Fresh Prince of Bel Air, one day I might go into it. I figured I'd give it this time to do let's do a top 10 favorite episodes of Fresh Prince of Bel Air. This is not really a top 10 because for me, top 10 doesn't really mean any, I don't really, I'm a fan of a lot of things, so these are more of random top 10 than are really like a top 10 number of episodes of Fresh Prince of Bel Air. Probably my first episode is probably the pilot episode, is one of my favorites just because it just explains the cast, explains how Carlton is very preppy. Ashley is still trying to kind of get into her own. Hillary is all about, Hillary Banks is all about, money and being and credit cards and stuff. And Jeffrey's the G, and Will is pretty much the fish out of water story. There's this great line where Uncle Phil says, this is my partner's Firth, Wind, and Meyer, or something like that. And Will says, Earth, Wind, and Fire, when's your next album dropping? So I guess the pilot was one of my favorite episodes, and how Uncle Phil had a really good speech into it. My second favorite episode, this is not a second, but I'm just kind of randomly talking about episodes. My second favorite episode is probably Papa's Got a Brand New Excuse. That was about season 4 or 5. Will is working at the Peacock, and Will's dad shows up, and he pretty much, is like head over heels of the fact that his father's back, and he basically deals with, kind of reconnecting with his father, and Uncle Phil is like, what are you doing back here? And he has this really good, powerful moment, and most people probably have seen it, and this is one of the episodes where I feel like Will really brought his A game as an actor. And Will was doing this scene where he says, don't worry, he sees his father, and his father says, I'll call you from the road, and it's great seeing you, son. And then he pretty much says to his father, good luck, I'll be seeing you later, Lou, calling by his first name. And he's like, he sees his father leave, and Uncle Phil's like, look, I know you're angry. He says, mad? Why should I be mad? It ain't like I'm 5 years old asking my mom, when's daddy coming home? Who needs him? I learned how to shave without him. I learned to play ball without him. I went on my first date without him. I had 14 great birthdays without him. He didn't give me a damn card. He says, the hell with him. And then he says, you know what, Uncle Phil, I'm gonna graduate. I'm gonna go get through college without him. I'm going to get a good job without him. I'm gonna marry me a beautiful honey, and I know these kids are gonna love. I'm gonna have some kids with this girl, and because there's nobody to tell me how to love my kids. It's kids. How come you don't want me no more? And that was one of my great moments. The other episodes is probably, I think it was season 2, season 1, where Aunt Viv, Will makes an argument that they don't really teach Black history as much as they should or something, and Will petitions for a new teacher, and it happened to be Aunt Viv, who's a college professor, and Aunt Viv does this talking about Black history and things like that, Black history and culture and things, and the class is so engaged and interested in it, and Will and Carlton think they can kind of slide easily and get a good grade, but end up really being part of it. And that was and I liked how Aunt Viv really kind of says, look, you guys have wanting to do this, but you two, who I'm disappointed in you, the fact that you're the only 2 African American students in this classroom, and you don't want to, and you haven't participated as much because you want to make this an easy grade. That's one of my favorite episodes. The other one is going back to Professor. Is he goes to Intro to Philosophy in college at ULA, and he goes into college at ULA, and he has this college professor that challenges him, but Will doesn't really want the challenge, and he drops out of his class, and then he realizes that he made a mistake. He tries to get into the good graces of his philosophy professor, and I know there's a great scene where Uncle Phil says to Will, he says, the thing about it is every time you have a challenge, you run from that challenge. And he's like, well, this whole college thing is all new to me. He says, bull. Every time you run away from a challenge, you run away from a challenge. And I remember that episode really well. Other episodes is probably the Black Fraternity episode, where Carlton doesn't get into the Black Fraternity because he's not hood enough for them, or because of his his rich upbringing, he doesn't, but he doesn't have what it takes in the eyes of the fraternity leader to join him. And there's that scene where the fraternity leader tells Will, you're in. And he's like, Carlton and I are in? That's great. And he says, well, Carlton's not. And I love that scene because Carlton really stands up to who he wants to be, or who he is as a person, and says, just because I look the way I look and and act the way I act doesn't change me to who the character I am. And that's what I really liked. One of my favorite episodes is I'm trying to think. And then there's the one where Hillary has the catering job, but she's so scared that people are going to make fun of her for the fact that she is catering the thing and working this high place. And Will tries to kind of consult her and say, you're messing up our dates. We have things to do. And he's mad. And Jeffrey shows up, and he has this really good, honorable moment He's like, it's a privilege to serve others, and I do what I do and it's an honor to do what I can. And it's, and I love that episode because you don't really look down on, I think a lot of people in Bel Air with this show, people look down on, people helping out, people that aren't, looking at Jeffrey as someone who is, the butler, and he has great pride in his job, which is very, very honorable, is what I see. But then there's the, and I think it tackled big issues as well. I mean, there's that episode where Will and Carlton are driving, I think, Uncle Phil's partner's car and to Palm Springs, and they get pulled over, and they see, and the cops who are white pull over Will and Carlton and ended up arresting him because they thought it was stolen. And it's a really great episode because I feel like Carlton feels like, oh, Dad bailed me out. And Will kind of has this really good saying or moment where he says, you think it's all right, but when you see a guy driving a Benz a black man driving a Benz in a white neighborhood or something like that, they don't see character, they just see race or something like that. I can't remember exactly, but it's a really powerful episode. I guess other episodes were the Will's manhood in Will's manhood, I think when he meets Lisa for the first time, and Lisa knows karate, and I think there's an episode where Will feels like his manhood's being tarnished because of Lisa's knowing karate, and he wants to be, which was a good episode. I liked Lisa as a character, but what other episodes did you like watching The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air? I was gonna kind of go through the show, but I was just gonna what my top episodes were. If there's any episodes of Fresh Prince that you watched and enjoyed, let me know in the comments below. And